Welcome everybody to another episode of UFO Man Live, featuring myself, UFO Man, and my co-host, Tommy Highway. Introduce yourself, Tommy.
Hello, folks. My name is Tommy Highway. I'm a network engineer, an author, a former government employee, and a ufologist. I've been interested in the field for many years after I had my own experiences, and I wanted to get to the bottom of that. I'm really happy to be here tonight, folks. We've got a great show planned for you. And Tim, as always, my brother, thank you for having me.
You're more than welcome. Okay, we got some big news for you guys this evening. We're going to post up something for you to take a look at. Here it is. I'm going to be featured, UFO Man is going to be featured in Contact in the Desert, the world's largest UFO conference. It's a virtual event this year, happening on June 25th to the 28th. Information can be found on Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, and other sites. I'm going to be part of something known as the Cosmic Cafe, and I'm also going to be part of showing some video content from the channel on the actual live stream of Contact in the Desert. This is a big step for our channel, and we hope you all can join us. Okay, going into our first segment, which is going to be our UFO Man video review. Here we go. Now, there's no audio in these video clips so that we can analyze them and take a good look at them.
Is this the one over in Peru, I believe?
No, this is Kharkiv, Ukraine.
Watch that thing take off. Look at this. I mean, that rules out a balloon right there. That's not a balloon. Balloons don't move like that. I mean, come on. Look at that thing. Amazing. Looks like a blob of mercury in the air.
Yeah, almost like stainless steel.
Very interesting. Do we know how old this one is, Tim?
This one came out in 2020.
Outstanding. Reflecting light. I mean, look at that. It's amazing. Very unusual, very out of the ordinary.
Yes.
Chad Baker. Yes, so would we. Absolutely.
Okay, so that's the large object right there. You can see where it's reflecting light. It almost looks like it's not totally round. Almost looks like it might be a football shape in a way, because right here it looks like it's gone to a point. I don't know if you notice that. You can kind of see a line.
And Zofa says that the reflections look right. I agree that's it, if it's CGI, it's very well done.
Right, exactly. I can't tell whether it's CGI or real. I'm leaning toward real because of the way it exits the frame.
Agreed.
Okay, here's a sighting over New York City, outside of New York City, from a tour boat outside the Statue of Liberty. And you will see something passing over the top of it.
Check that out. To me, it looks like a solid object. This one's been around for a few weeks now, and that looks like a solid object to me, folks. I mean, we've been fooled by drones before. Don't get us wrong, but that to me looks like there's something big cruising over top of the statue.
Now, I will get closer in so you can take a better look at this.
Rotating, no less.
Now, some people suggested it might be the TR3B, but the TR3B only has single lights at the corners and one light in the center, unless this is an updated version that has two lights at each corner. Now I've slowed it down so you can really see it.
I just really feel like
Go ahead.
I feel like I'm looking at one single object here. I really do.
Yeah, I think it's one object.
Amazing. Rotates right off the screen. No matter what it is, folks, that's impressive. Yep, I totally agree. Close up. But that is just something you don't see every day, folks. That is something very unusual, not supposed to be there. Again, we've been fooled by drones before, but I don't think we're looking at drones on that one.
Okay, this one here is over French Guiana, even though the people aren't speaking the language of French Guiana. Watch this.
Oh, light beam. Cool.
Not just one, several.
I mean, that was a distinct beam coming out of that thing. That's, I mean, it deliberate. That was just, I don't know what kind of light you could actually simulate that with even. I mean, a spotlight's not going to do that. Huh. Look at that. That's amazing.
And not that fast either. If you were using a laser, it wouldn't retract that quickly.
Right. Well, that is just really something right there, folks. That's something you don't see every day. That's really different. I love the one that it's so rare that we actually get one that's actually emitting a beam. There have been a few, but this one is just outstanding.
There's a big one. Now, the object itself isn't really that incredible. It's what it's doing.
Right.
There's one of the beams in a still frame. Here's another one in a still frame. This is how straight that beam is.
Just a column of pure light.
Right. And when we interviewed Terry Lovelace about 2 weeks ago, he mentioned that when he saw a beam of light come down, it was contained without casting a shadow. And that is an example.
Yeah, there's no dispersion at all. It's a straight up column of light. That's just amazing. I mean, we don't have anything that I can think of that can do that.
And here it is as it's getting dimmer before it pulls up into the ball of light. There it is again. There's the actual light that was emitting the beams of light right there.
That is really something. That's a great video.
Okay, here's something that looks like a crystalline structure. At first, I thought it might be a dandelion, but it was far off in the sky, and I zoomed in on it. If you look at it, it looks kind of crystal-like. Almost like a sphere with beams of light coming out from the center.
And where was this filmed?
I gotta remember where this one was. Oh, this was over Arkansas.
I mean, look at that wide shot from way back. I mean, it just looks like a light until you get that. Is just amazing. What could that possibly be, folks? Anybody have any thoughts on this in the chat room? It's a lionfish, yeah. Good, yep. A little high up for that, but yep. It does look like coral. I agree with you.
Flying coral. These are different filters I used. Okay, here's an object that appears at an air show and it passes the jets. You have to look at it really close because it's up here above the planes. And I will show it again. It appears out of nowhere, right up about here, right about here. You'll see it right there. See it? Right there.
Yep, there is something there.
And it's going to pace the jets for a while, and then it's going to fly in front of them and hide in the clouds.
Look how easily it overtook them.
And we don't know how fast those planes are flying.
Is that another one there with it?
No, that's actually clouds. I zoomed in on that. That's clouds. But the other one disappeared into this cloud bank right here and is not coming out.
Whatever it is, it's moving deliberately. I mean, it's made several different movements there. I mean, it's tracking the jets, and then it overtakes them. I mean, that's it's intelligent control, if you ask me.
Yes. But it appears out of nowhere, which is interesting. Watch this. This is a close-up of it. You'll see how fast it flies past those planes. Here's the lasers targeting a UAP, and the UAP signals back. This is infrared footage. It's pulsing. Someone said in the chat that they thought maybe it was saying, turn off that light. They don't want to be flashed. And that's a possibility.
definitely reacting when it gets hit, doesn't it?
Yes. That's the UAP right there. That's the UAP at the end of the lasers. That's the UAP as it pulses.
Now that you've mentioned that, let's ask the chat room a question. Folks, do you all prefer the term UFO or UAP? Just if you could tick it off there on the chat, we'd really appreciate that. I'm just curious.
Yeah, I have to personally say I prefer UFO.
Yep.
I personally believe that with the term UAP, the government is trying to control the narrative. They're trying to control the rhetoric. And I think we should return to UFO.
Well, UFO is a universal term. You could say UFO in just about anywhere, any person that speaks any language, and they're going to understand that. You say UAP, maybe not. I mean, I didn't know what UAP was until recently myself, and I'm a ufologist, for goodness sakes. So,
yeah, Sasha,
you're right.
Sasha says UFO. Chad Baker says, I say UFO.
Amanda says craft.
Right. Amanda B also says UFO is easy to recognize.
Cheris Lou, I agree with you. I prefer UFO as well. I think it's just a universal thing, universal speech. Zofa, that's very interesting.
Sofa says UFO makes me think of craft. UAP makes me think of orbs.
Let's go ahead and start and kick off the video there, Timothy.
Okay, well, we're at the end. So this is the end of the UFO video show for this week, I think. Let me see.
It's definitely reacting to those lasers, no doubt about it. Which is, again, that denotes intelligence. A satellite, if it were a satellite's not going to blink like that. Why would it react to laser lights being pointed at it? Unless it's some sort of a military satellite, maybe. But even then, I sort of doubt that. I think we're looking at something else here, folks.
Right.
Intelligently controlled.
Right, I agree. Got to show you all my new outro. This is really cool. Take a look. Got to show it to you, and then I'll stop it. Look at that. We're being invaded. Oh. Okay.
Outstanding.
All righty. We're going into our next segment, which is going to start with a video clip after Mr. Tommy Highway gives us his soliloquy introduction. Tommy?
That's right, folks. We're all aware of the upcoming report from the government, the report that was actually signed into law by the Trump administration as part of the COVID-19 relief package. And that is to basically give the public every bit of information that the United States government currently has regarding UFOs, things of that nature, UAPs, if you want to call them that. So as interesting as that is, and I know that we're all, again, we're just holding our breath here on this thing because hopefully they're actually going to release something that's actually worthwhile. However, now something different and interesting has actually happened here. The government's doing something I think it's even more shocking than the report itself. And what I'm talking about, folks, is I'm going to go ahead and share my screen for you here. And just a moment.
We want to show the video first.
You want to do the video first? Okay, roll the video.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. Oops. Hold on, Matt.
this got audio?
Huh?
Does this have audio?
You can't hear it?
No.
Oh, hold on a minute. I'll stop it and start over. I didn't know you guys couldn't hear it. Okay, here we go. We'll do it again. Share screen.
The investigation comes 1 month after the Pentagon confirmed the authenticity of leaked photos and videos of UFOs in 2019. Washington, in a memorandum this week, the Inspector General for the Department of Defense informed a list of offices that an investigation into the Pentagon's actions related to unidentified aerial phenomena would begin this month. In April, the Pentagon confirmed that leaked photos and video taken in 2019 of UFOs, which the military refers to as unidentified aerial phenomena, were authentic. At the time, the Department of Defense hinted at an investigation of the images, which were taken by Navy personnel, but didn't elaborate further on the scope of any evaluation into how serious any findings were. In a memo this week signed by Randolph Stone, the Assistant Inspector General for Evaluations for Space and Intelligence, several offices within the Department of Defense were notified that they would be investigated by the government watchdog. Offices including that of the Secretary of Defense, combat commands, military criminal investigation organizations and defense agencies were named in the memo as being part of the apparent comprehensive investigation. Memo recipients were told they have 5 days from the time that they were notified on Monday to get details over to the Inspector General's office for points of contact. A spokesperson for the Pentagon, Sue Goff, told CNN in a statement, "As we have said before, to maintain operation security and to avoid disclosing information that may be useful to potential adversaries, DOD does not discuss publicly the details of either the observations or the examinations of reported incursions into our training ranges or designated airspace, including those incursions initially designated as UAP." In a 2017 New York Times article, the details of a $22 million UFO program were laid out, and found that little was known of the effort to keep tabs on reports of unidentified flying objects. The Defense Department had reportedly never actually acknowledged the program's existence, and details on the once-covered mission were buried deep in yearly $600 billion Defense Department budgets. That was until last year when it was discovered that the program had been disbanded and was now under a new name and slipped quietly into the Office of Naval Intelligence, where operations to study unidentified aerial phenomena continued under the radar, the Times reported. At the time, as the Senate mulled over spending by U.S. intelligence agencies for 2020, Senator Marco Rubio of Florida, who led the probe, expressed particular concern regarding UFOs appearing over American military bases. In Monday's memo, the Department of Defense IG said additional departments could be identified in their investigation. In August.
Very interesting. So, in other words, what we're saying here, folks, is that the Department of Defense, the IG, the Inspector General, has actually queried the Department of Defense on not what they have in terms of information regarding the UFO phenomenon itself. That's not what they're looking for. What they want to know is they want to know the methods that were actually brought forward and utilized in investigating these particular phenomena, the UFO sightings themselves. That's what the DOD is about. In other words, it would appear that they're actually out there to uncover the cover-up. Okay, see, that's what bothers me, because, folks, I'll tell you, as a former government employee, and any of you other government folks out there probably tell you the same thing. Say the same thing, I should say. The government has a real big habit of not embarrassing itself. Okay, they have a real habit of covering things up, even their own shortcomings. I mean, not to get political, but we've seen that time and time again here in the last several years. Okay, so why are they doing this? Why are they actually coming forth and demanding this probe? Well, could be a couple of reasons, in my opinion. The first being that they're actually trying to make the public believe that they're trying to do something, that they're actually trying to get to the bottom of this. Okay, they're actually putting the pressure on these organizations, and I'll show you the organizations that we're talking about. Let me pull this up for you. Okay, share your screen. And Okay. Take a look at this document right here. I'm going to go ahead and read this to you because it's a little bit blurry, and forgive me, I have to get kind of close to it. But this is from the Inspector General's Office to the Department of Defense. Memorandum for distribution. This actually came out on May 3rd. Okay, so just a few days ago. And it's the evaluation of the DOD's actions regarding the unidentified aerial phenomenon. In other words, how they've been investigating this over the years. We plan to begin the subject evaluation in May 2021. The objective of this evaluation is to determine the extent to which the DOD has taken actions regarding unidentified aerial phenomenon, or UAP. We may revise the objective as the evaluation proceeds. In other words, the more they dig up, the deeper they're gonna go. At least that's what they're trying to say here. And we will consider suggestions from management for additional or revised objectives. It goes on to say, we will perform the evaluation at the Office of Secretary of Defense, Military Services. The comment, I can't really read that. Combatant commands, combat support agencies, defense agencies, and the military criminal investigative organizations. We may identify additional locations during this evaluation. Okay, it goes on to say, please provide us with a point of contact for the evaluation within 5 days of the date of this memorandum. The point of contact should be a government employee or military service member, a GS-15 pay band equivalent or military equivalent. Send the contact's name, title, pay grade, brand, phone number, and email address to, and that's of course redacted. And it goes on to close with, you can obtain information about the Department of Defense Office of the Inspector General from DOD Directive 5106.01, Inspector General of the Department of Defense, IG-DOD, April 20th, 2012, as amended and DOD instructed, Office of the Inspector General, Department of Defense, access to records and information. Our website is blah, blah, blah. So, in other words, what they're saying here, folks, is they're trying to make this look really good. Now, are their intentions true on this thing? Are their intentions good? I don't know. Again, as a former government employee, again, the government generally does not do anything to embarrass itself, okay? But there could be another couple of reasons why they're doing this. But I'll tell you one thing, we can also look at these just as a list of the agencies that this actually went out to. This memorandum went out to. Secretaries of the military departments, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Undersecretary of Defense for Research and Engineering, Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence and Security, Commander, U.S. Central Command, CENTCOM, Commander, U.S. Northern Command, Commander, U.S. Special Operations Command, Director, Defense Advanced Research Project Agency, and the list just goes on and on. You folks can look at it right there. So they're telling all of these agencies right here that they're not actually asking per se for UFO information, but how the information was collected and investigated. And I think that's very, very unusual and very unique. To me, this could go either way. Either they mean it this time, either they're serious and they actually want to get to the bottom of this, or they're coming at this from the angle that, okay, well, we've done everything that we could possibly do. We've talked to everybody we've talked to all of our agencies, the military, everyone else involved, anyone who could possibly be involved with UAPs and UFOs or the subject thereof, okay? And we found nothing. But this is what we did to find nothing. Maybe that's where they're going with this. I don't know. Tim, what are your thoughts?
I think they're also asking for UFO information. All of a sudden, I got really red. Anyways, I think they're asking for UFO information, and they're also evaluating the actions taken by the government, because the government is stiff-arming the UAPTF every step they take in trying to come out with that report on June 1st.
And always has,
so,
as procedure, yeah. Always has.
Terry Lovelace is in the chat. Everyone, give him a shout out and a hello. Terry, nice of you to be here this evening.
Thank you, sir.
You have a great evening. Yes. So, Tommy, in response to you, I do believe that they're evaluating the actions of these organizations, all of them, because they have to. If they don't, then the credibility of the reports would be in jeopardy. So,
Absolutely. And I mean, at this point, the government has nearly next to zero credibility when it comes to the UFO subject anyway. I mean, we know good and well that we have been lied to time after time after time as a people. We have requested reports, and this report that's coming out 1st of June. That's just one example of reports. Now, that's actually been signed into law, which makes it a little bit different. But over the decades, folks, we've seen reports, but reports have been demanded. We've received reports, and the reports, unfortunately, that we receive are just a bunch of redacted documents that you can't make heads or tails of. And
right.
They redact them under the guise of national defense. Okay, and why should it be any different this time? I don't know. What are your thoughts on that, Tim?
I don't think it's going to be any different because they don't want to release control. They don't want to relinquish control. Plus, the general theory going around is that they don't trust us with the truth. Look at what happened with several different riots this summer, and you'll understand how people react to shocking truth. So we'll have to let it lie at that and see what's going to happen on the 1st. There is some controversy on whether it's going to be on the 1st or whether it's going to be on the 25th now, because I guess the UAPTF is requesting more time to gather the information because they feel they haven't had enough. I mean, it took 3 years for the 9/11 Commission report to come out. So for a 70 years of suppression to be released in 180 days is like incredibly difficult. So that's my thoughts on the matter. In regards to, I got to say one thing, in regards to the USN pyramid swarms that we saw recently in the last couple of weeks, Jeremy Corbell came out and stated in an interview that all options have been ruled out. That includes foreign adversaries. So they do believe that they are of ET origin. They are not of foreign adversarial technology. But I have to, later on, I'll be showing you some documents in regards to US patents and Russian patents that may suggest an alternative reality in regards to those pyramids. We're not sure yet, but we're gonna put that out there for you. But first, I would like to play a video by Jeremy, an interview of Jeremy Corbell on Fox, and you need to listen to what he says. Tommy, did you have a comment before I do that?
Actually, no. I just the Corbell thing. Your guys are getting ready to see a great interview here. I'm not necessarily a super, let's say, fanboy of this guy myself, but I'll tell you, he's probably got more information, I think, than anybody else going right now as far as what's really going on out there. I will give him that. So yeah, go ahead and light it up there, Tim.
All righty then. Here we go.
If you look back at our first interview, the big thing we talked about is at that time, people were still questioning, is there intelligent life out in the universe? Which statistically is, for it not to be, would be insane. Now, I was saying back then to you, we were discussing, the new question was going to be, are they visiting here? And here we are, 10 years later from our first interview, and that's precisely where we're at.
Let me show,
incredible.
I'm going to show tape 1. Now, this is one of the things that you released. This is DOD video. You can see it on your screen, right? This is tape 1. We're going to let this go. There's a little bit of sound on it, and I want you to watch it and describe. You can't describe it. Just let's take a look.
These are unknowns, meaning they've already ruled out the typical things that you would expect, like balloons or basic drones from another country.
All right, that's you talking about it, and that was the pyramid-shaped object. This object is a little different, a balloon-shaped object. Some of these things, Jeremy, are doing things that high-level military people say are otherworldly.
Right. So, John, we're going through a bunch of different footage here. We're seeing this green footage, which has what was described in the official documents by our Office of Naval Intelligence in classified briefings as pyramid-shaped UFOs or unknowns or UAPs. You're also seeing images with a blue background that George Knapp obtained. And he's my mentor in journalism and investigative reporter. And these are images out in FA-18 fighter jet. So that's what you're seeing with the blue backgrounds. These are targets, hard objects, craft. All of this information was obtained through sources of mine and George Knapp's. They are contained within classified briefings. However, what we released is unclassified. So we were able to get it out to the public. We released so much information over the last week and a half, 9 images, actually 10 images now, and 1 video. All of these, in the true sense of the word, are UFOs. Our military is using this exact footage to educate our armed forces and intelligence agencies on the UFO presence on planet Earth. This is not just somebody in their backyard with a camera. These are DOD, as you said, these are Navy images and videos that are used to educate our armed forces.
So it's nothing monkeyed with. This is their footage that they took. And that one, the night vision, the green video that we saw, was the pyramid-shaped UFOs flying over the USS Russell off the coast of California in July of 2019. They reportedly hovered just 700 feet above the Navy warship. Other cell phone images taken by Navy pilots flying near Australia in March of 2019 show 3 identified craft, unidentified, reportedly performing extraordinary capabilities like staying stationary in high winds and doing things that were just absurd. The people watching it said, "What in the world is that?" They could not explain it.
Right. So you have trained pilots who are observing and encountering and having near misses with craft that appear non-aerodynamic and able to outperform, outmaneuver, outpace anything that we have in the United States arsenal or any arsenal we know on any technologically advanced nation on planet Earth. So this is the issue. It's a national defense issue for some people. Finally, the stigma is being dissolved, eradicated. The laugh factor is going away because we are having direct contact and interactions. Our military is, as well as there's an increase in uptick in sightings and in mass sightings. So this topic, which makes people ticklish, or it used to, is now mainstream. It's being talked about. And as you mentioned at the beginning, our Senate Intelligence Committee has demanded that we get an informational report about the state of UFOs from our intelligence agencies, and we can expect that sometime this summer.
So that comes out in June. That would be the, the 60, 90-day mark that they put out there.
It's going to be late, I'm sure, because everything in government goes slowly. Yeah. But we have asked for it as a public.
What do you believe you're going to hear that day?
You know, I like to have low expectation and then high yield. So I'll say that the more pressure that we can put on our representatives from Congress to Senate to the President of the United States, not only do we have a right to know, the American public and the global society, we have a need to know. And honestly, we have a duty to push and to find out. So the more noise we can make, the more we can push for answers, then we're going to learn more come that report. So this is the time to raise your voice and say, I want to know what's going on with UFOs. I want to know what you know.
I want to queue up, if we can, tape number 6, if we can get tape 6. We're going to hear the Navy pilots right here describing this. Let's turn up the audio. Take a listen to this.
We're going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots to the west.
Okay, they're going against the wind.
Yes.
It's 120 knots to the west. Why that pilot was so excited is because you have a non-aerodynamic, appearing to be a saucer-shaped craft flying against the wind, and it's not losing speed, and it was able to mechanically turn in the video. These are technologies that we do not have. And that has become clear because our greatest intelligence agencies in the United States are trying to find out and identify and see how these things are propelled and operating and going against our normal reactionary propulsion systems that we know of.
Right. Let's listen to this one. This is tape 6. I want to listen to, you can hear it in the pilots' voices when we run this, that they are just mystified. Tape number 6.
Have any targets up here? We just had something go right over the top of us that, I hate to say this, looked like a long cylindrical object that almost looked like a cruise missile type of thing moving really fast that went right over the top of us.
Now, that
That's
was the American
great.
airline pilot encounter. But when the pilots encounter this stuff, far from dismissing it, they are just, as aeronautical folks, they look at it and say, that is amazing. What is that? And you get a lot of that in some of these descriptions and tapes that have now come to the fore.
Because these are near misses. Look, John, these are really important things that are going on. When you have the safety in mind of these American fighter pilots and even just, normal pilots that are doing commercial flights, you've got a lot of lives on board, and you have objects that are flying with impunity in our airspace, in restricted airspace, and they can outmaneuver and outperform anything that we have. That is an issue on a very fundamental, basic level.
Okay, let me ask you a couple of things. Is it possible, we talk about otherworldly, is it possible that another nation is way ahead of us on something? Is it possible China has developed something that we just haven't anticipated? Is it possible that any of this stuff is worldly?
Of course. So every possibility is on the table when something is unidentified. So UFO means unidentified flying object.
Right.
UAP
Doesn't
is the
mean
same
aliens.
thing.
It doesn't mean aliens. It means you've got an object that nobody knows what it is.
Right. I mean, however, trained Navy pilots like Commander David Fravor said that he believed that what he saw was not made here on Earth. And then additionally, we know the United States government has been studying UFOs because the New York Times broke that story about OSAP and ATIP, which are two programs to study UFOs. Their conclusion is that they're not ruling out extraterrestrial. They say, sure, this could be a leapfrog in technology from an adversarial nation, and that is concerning.
We need to know that. Now, if that's happening, we need to know it.
We need to know it. And right now, we know it's not ours. And that's the main thing. It's not the United States. It's not a black project. So it's either an adversarial nation that has leapfrogged and is now taunting and swarming our Navy ships in a brazen manner, or this is something not made from here. And saying that, let's be clear. This is a technology far more advanced than any human or humankind has ever made. And
okay,
if that's the case.
Yeah, let me ask you about that. Let me push back a little bit on the Pentagon and its transparency. We have plenty of history where they're hardly transparent. Could this be a grand misdirection? In other words, stuff they're testing, they're trying to pass it off as ET going on, and it's actually our stuff.
It's a great question. And here's the problem with that, is that the UFO mystery has been with humankind since the beginning of recorded human history. We've been observing craft in the air before the Wright brothers, before human beings were ever in the skies. So the UFO presence, whatever UFOs are and represent, they've been here so much longer than even our military. So the problem I have with that theory is that, look, if we had this technology, we'd win. This technology simply represents an astounding change in our understanding of physics and propulsion. And John, it's not ours. So that leaves us with a little bit of uncertainty. But I will say the UFO phenomenon has been with humankind since the beginning of recorded human history.
Let me ask you this, Jeremy. Is it possible what we're seeing are not craft in the traditional word, but they are projections of craft done with lasers or some other source that projects an image on the sky that isn't really material? Do you get my drift?
I do. It's a great tactic, and there are patents out there that try to show a type of technology of warfare where you can project like holographic images. The problem is this: the multiple sensor systems that pick up the same event, the same saucers, the same tic-tac UFOs, there's too many sensors. There's optics, there's also radar, there's geospatial platforms that also pick up these same targets. So unfortunately, John, this is not just a projected holographic technique used by our military.
Well, I had to ask because I thought maybe that's the explanation. All right, I want to show, let's see. We got a lot of video to go through. Number 3, I think we've done number 3. Let's take a look at number 4 if we can. I'm trying to capture this one, and there's so much tape of the Navy pilots who were seeing this on their display. And I think it might be number 4. We're going to go until we get it. This is it. Listen to this discussion.
What's going on, bro? There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA. My gosh. They're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots to the west. The whole thing, dude. That's not our LNS though, is it? It's not. That is the LNS, dude. Well, if there's look at that thing. It's rotating.
And that's the one that dives into the ocean.
Oh, got it! Woohoo! Roger. That's troubleshooting.
These guys have no idea what they're looking at.
Right. So let me clarify. This is really important what you're looking at, right? I got goosebumps, John, but I need to clarify. The first image that you saw was called the gimbal, and he says, and into the water. I released the one that went into the water. The one that you saw from the Navy pilot, it's called the Go Fast, and he was so excited because he boxed a moving target. He was able to get it on his FLIR system. And this, what you're seeing now, is called the Tic Tac UFO. This was filmed by Commander Chad Underwood, who's a friend of mine and talked with me for the first time on audio. He's the guy that filmed it. Commander David Fravor is the fighter pilot that chased it. And this is the one that defies all known physics as we know it. So the one that I released,
at it as a layperson, when we look at it, we say, well, it's just another plane. But these guys know what they're looking at, and it's doing things, even though if you're not a pilot, you may not be able to discern, but it's doing things that are otherworldly, right?
Yes, there is a learning curve when you're looking at these FLIR, which is basically a thermal type camera. But listen to the testimony of the people I've done interviews with. Listen to the testimony of Commander David Fravor, of Commander Chad Underwood, who filmed it. Now, really importantly, let's back up. We've hit a big milestone as of this last week. I released, and George Knapp, together we released 10 images in one video that have shocked the world, some of the best UFO evidence that I've ever seen. And I say that because of the context, because of the origin of what it is that I was able to obtain and release to the public. And one of those objects is shown going into the water. This is called a transmedium craft, something that can penetrate the air and water barrier without destruction. So, there we go. That's it on your screen.
It's unbelievable stuff. All right. Do we have any sense? We got to take a break here. This is a fascinating topic. Do we have any idea about intent here? What are they showing any hostility, these crafts? Any hostility at all?
I'll tell you this. I am not somebody, that is the question. That's what our military wants to know. What is the intent? Who are the operators of this craft? What they are doing is they are brazenly demonstrating and performing for us by swarming our warships. So there is a new level of demonstration going on. Is it a threat? I'm not qualified to say. That's our Department of Defense's point of view.
Welcome back on Newsmaker Saturday, talking UFOs and unidentified aerial phenomenon. We're not saying aliens are visiting. We're just saying there is stuff out there that credible people, Defense Department people, Navy pilots, commercial pilots are seeing that simply at this point cannot be explained. And right now, the official position of the U.S. government has changed of publicly ignoring this stuff to now saying these things are unexplainable. and they're going to issue a report probably in June. Jeremy Corbell is a documentary and investigative filmmaker. He's been looking into this stuff for years and years, and some of the stuff he's been talking about for years and years is kind of coming to pass. The government now can't ignore it because too many sightings, too much data out there. Jeremy, thanks. Part two
exactly
of our program here.
Yeah.
Hostile intent. We talked about that before the break. There's that video taken. You can tell me who it was taken by. You obtained it, of the craft not only flying in really spectacular fashion that can't be explained, but then diving into the ocean. Is that
Right,
missile?
so-
Could that be a missile that is plunging back to Earth, ends up in the ocean, and they capture it?
No, so that's from the USS Omaha, which is from one of our warships. And what you're seeing is one of the multitude of targets that it was tracking on the 15th of July in 2019 off the coast of California. I released that information just a couple of days ago, the exact dates. That object that ended up submerging, going into the water without destruction, that's called transmedium. They searched for it, and in the reports, it was even using a submarine. They were unable to find any materials. So we have craft that can go from air down to sea, and there's no destruction. This is incredible. So these technologies are more advanced than what we know and have in our arsenal. That is why our government is taking this seriously now. They want that technology.
Okay, so the $1 million question. People always are asking, what would be an event that would be a uniting event for the world? Is this hold that possibility, or do you suspect as we start to unravel this, we could have utter chaos because now the government can't protect us? If there's hostile intent, whatever this stuff is, and again,
UFOs have been part of human experience since the beginning of recorded human history. If there was a hostile intent, I'm thinking we probably know about it by now. It seems more like a performance, like a dance, like a I see you, you see me. These things are not shooting down our airplanes. So I wouldn't have any fear at all, but I would have curiosity. In fact, I like to say my curiosity has been weaponized. I want to become an individual learning and contributing to this topic. Look, it's the greatest story of all time, and it's happening.
So why is this curiosity that you talk about not shared by high tech in Silicon Valley? People like Elon Musk, they have dismissed this stuff out of hand.
I'm sorry,
we've got
you're right.
all of our titans of this who are intellectually incurious about this.
I'll tell you something. Some people are privately curious and publicly not. Titans of industry were given access to this classified report that I was able to receive unclassified aspects of. I would be very surprised if in private Elon Musk had the same attitude as he did on the Joe Rogan show, which was dismissive. In private, I would be very surprised if that was the case.
Some of these guys have said, I'm trying to find the quote. One of these guys, astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson, he said that he would only take the idea seriously when aliens send him a dinner invite.
Yeah, well, that's a high bar because who knows if he's a really great guest to have even just for dinner to begin with. I don't know. I can't speak for the aliens. I'm just saying that that's a ridiculous comment from somebody who should not be acting ridiculous about the idea of extraterrestrial life and their ability to have greater physics than we do. I've had an exchange with Mr. Tyson, and I would like to respectfully disagree. I will take the dinner invitation, from other civilization, but I just think that he needs to look at this as he would and give it a fair shake as he would with any aspect.
Objectively.
Right. Jeremy, the common line is that what we know of the universe and what's out there, that any intelligent life would be too far away from us to reach us, that it's just impossible. Do you challenge that assumption?
I do. And we talked about this 10 years ago, John. The concept of moving through time and space is a moot point. It absolutely doesn't matter. The only way craft can travel is gravitationally, and we are witnessing that. So these craft have to be gravitationally propelled. And this is understood within our Department of Defense that the craft are gravitationally propelled. So in which case, time and space has no longer matters. It's instantaneous travel. It's hubris to believe that a reactionary propulsion system is the greatest of all propulsion systems, where you push something out the back and you go forward. These craft are gravitationally propelled, and that is demonstrated by their capabilities, recorded by our military.
I was going to get into the Phoenix Lights, but I can't. We don't have enough time. We will do that next time. Will you come back after the Department of Defense, the Pentagon, issues its report on, again, not aliens, unidentified flying object, unexplained aerial phenomenon, and we're going to get more from them. There have been far more sightings than we ever knew.
There is a great mystery here, John, and we have a duty to try to find out what's going on, what's flying with impunity in our skies. Let it be a foreign nation or let it be something more exotic. That doesn't matter. What matters is that we, as the American public and our military, have transparency, UFO transparency. And using that, we're able to determine what is going on with this UFO mystery.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, that kind of tells it all. Very interesting interview, but I do have some documents that may suggest.
Well, maybe we should discuss the video.
Okay, we'll go right ahead.
Yeah, folks, I mean, what Corbell is saying there essentially is correct. I mean, the fact that we're talking billions.
Starring Mary Louise Parker, Bruce Willis, and Helen.
We're talking billions of planets in the universe, in the cosmos, and somehow in all of that, we're the only game in town. I refuse to believe that. I mean, look at our own planet. It's hosted life for millions of years. I mean, the dinosaurs and the insects, and when they got wiped out, then here came the mammals, and then eventually here came humanity. Okay. So to think that we're the only intelligent life, if you even want to go as far as to call us intelligent at this point, I think is laughable. Now, for people that have actually had an experience, let me tell you, it changes everything. I mean, it removes all doubt in your mind that in fact we are not alone in the universe. Excuse me. And many of you out there have seen that. And we're getting a lot more sightings because everybody's got a killer camera in their pocket now. I mean, that's the bottom line. And that's why Tim and I have so much content, is because people are looking up, paying attention, and they got their camera that's pretty decent right there. Tim, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's exactly the truth. More people with cell phones, good cell phones out there, and more time on their hands since the COVID-19 pandemic. Everybody's been home and they've been going out in their yards and looking up rather than looking down at their tablets, because they're getting sick and tired of being burned out on the computer. So they go outside and they look up. And that's why we're getting more sightings. And I think that's why we're getting more footage, and credible footage as well, because the best footage is always footage, in my opinion, from the private citizen that's out there in their yard, in their car, on a plane, wherever. If you see something, photograph it.
Absolutely.
Film it.
Absolutely. You know, to think that, well, okay, let's go back to the flying pyramids that were harassing the American ships. And I'll say this until the day they put me in a box, folks. I got to believe that if I'm a nation state, let's say the United States or anybody, but the United States, and I've got secret technology, all right, super, super highly classified alien type technology, all right, I'm going to keep that hidden. I'm not going to be harassing, let's say, Chinese ships with it and hovering over those ships and letting them photograph my equipment, letting them get every kind of sensor or radar lock on it, laser lock and everything else there is. I'm not going to give them a good look at it until I actually have to use it in a warfare scenario. That's why I don't think that those flying pyramids, folks, I don't believe that those belong to anybody's military. I think that we're looking at genuine alien craft, personally.
I have to agree with Tommy. I do believe they're ET origin, although there is documents out there that I received from a man by the name of Aleska Petrovic, of some patents that include triangular vehicles from Russia that are anti-gravitic in nature, and if they have triangles like we have TR3Bs and TR6s in the United States, then who's to say they wouldn't use them to harass our warships? And the reason why I say that is with tensions rising between the United States and Russia, perhaps that was one way to say, hey, look, we're way ahead of you. We can control the situation. So I don't know. I still believe that the pyramid shapes were of ET origin. But if they're not pyramid and they're just flat triangular platforms, then I would say they're human based. But we want to show you some patents. So I'm going to bring them up here. This has absolutely no volume to it. So it's just a form, and we're going to take a look at it. So here we go. Okay, I'm going to make it big so we can maybe see it. Okay. The United States has a triangle craft using an inertial mass reduction device. They also have high-frequency gravitational wave generator, electromagnetic field generator, and method to generate an electromagnetic field, high-frequency gravitational wave generator. These are just some of the patents that the United States has, okay? Now, from U.S. inventors, we have a circular wing aircraft, a saucer-shaped aircraft, a space vehicle propelled by the pressure of inflationary vacuum state. We also have holographic projection system, which is the blue beam that everybody talks about. We have cylinder-shaped interstellar spacecraft. Now, what I want to point out about these patents, I did some digging, and the United States Patent Office will not issue a patent unless you have a workable operational product. So that means all of these patents have an operational system. So if we have a cylinder-shaped interstellar spacecraft, it's operational, and that's how it got the patent. We also have a disc-shaped submersible aircraft, okay? That means it can go underwater. So you're talking about these discs that can leave the air and go underwater. We have them, okay? We have an electrical-driven flying saucer based on magnetic suspension. We also have a centripetal aerodynamic platform spacecraft. Now, these are just the United States. Now, let's go forward a little bit here. Okay. Got to get it to switch here. Hold on. Russia also has some really cool things. Here it is right here. Okay, Russia has a triangular flying vehicle, a disc-shaped craft, an attack orbital nuclear laser. So that's for like attacking our satellite systems. They have a flying saucer. They have a hypersonic airplane with compact aircraft laser. They have a flying vehicle type flying saucer. They have a spacecraft triangle. All right, and that's my reference to the pyramid crafts. They do have triangles. They have a spacecraft carrying out information support of mass delivery of tourists. So they have something like a shuttle that can transport a lot of tourists in space. They've got complex technology of planetary and interplanetary navigation. They have an engine utilizing energy of space. Okay, so that's like utilizing zero-point energy or antimatter. They have saucer-type flying vehicle for planetary and interplanetary navigation. So they have an interstellar vehicle. They also have an aqua aerospace vehicle, meaning a vehicle that can travel in our atmosphere and enter the water. So they also have that. And they also have a space triangle. These are all operational technologies as of 2021. Very interesting information. You've seen it here first on UFO Man. I have to honestly say, Tommy, with all that technology, there is a possibility that those pyramids may or may not be an adversarial technology. They might be.
I mean, anything is possible at this point. I mean, because we just don't know. That's the bottom line.
Right.
So all we have at this point is speculation at best. But I mean, again, we have the video, we have all that. My bet is, let's say if it were an adversarial vehicle, I don't think it'd be Russia, because I don't think Russia has enough money to afford to pay attention right now. I think if anybody, it would probably be China, because they tend to be technologically more advanced than the Russians. That being said, I don't think it's either one, folks. I mean, look at the way the whole bottom of that thing blinked like that. The only time I saw something like that, I'm telling you, when I saw something like that personally, it was not terrestrial technology. I promise it wasn't.
Right. And when I saw my craft too up close, it wasn't terrestrial technology either.
We just don't build that stuff here.
Right. We don't build what we've seen, both of us. Mm-hmm. But I do have a short clip here. It's only 2 minutes long, about 3 minutes long. It's on U.S. and Russian missile systems that weren't shut down. They were activated, creating a nuclear threat. So my thought is, do UAPs or UFOs control our fate? That's a question I posed to the chat room. Do UFOs control our fate? If they can control our nuclear systems and fire them off at will, do they control our fate? Okay, so here we go. Let me know if you can hear this, because I'm not sure the volume's there. You hear it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, they are said to be able to cross galaxies, but people who believe they're out there want to know why aliens want to visit Earth. A group of former U.S. servicemen is convinced extraterrestrials are interfering with nuclear weapons, as RT Cedric Moon explains.
Perhaps few things say normal or routine more than a daily dose of coffee, a cup of calm, and what can on any day be out of the ordinary. Out of the ordinary, like a nuclear holocaust. Out of the ordinary. Let's say there's an attack from where, doesn't matter. It could be North Korea, Iran, Pakistan. If that were to happen, nuclear payback wouldn't happen. That's a claim made by the men in this room.
Our missiles began going into what's called a no-go condition or unlaunchable. Essentially, they were disabled.
Detailed in this report, full of court-sanctioned sworn affidavits.
The witnesses have described these craft as disc-shaped or cylindrical shaped or spherical.
If you think what's being said inside this building is completely ridiculous, you might want to consider something.
My name's Robert Hastings. Thank you for coming.
These are men who might know what may have gone on. They're former Air Force missile launch officers, missile base officers, who say UFO spaceships, flying saucers, make nuclear weapon systems go haywire.
In 1966, according to a launch officer, David Shore, his missiles were temporarily activated just as his security guard was reporting a bright object moving from missile to missile to missile.
10, 9, 8.
And it's not just in the United States. Also,
4, 3,
in Russia.
2, 1.
Like a 1982 incident that happened in then Soviet Ukraine.
Given the fact that these incidents have gone on over there, including one incident of their missiles being temporarily activated when a UFO was hovering above the missile base, identical to what occurred here, I think we can rule out that whoever are piloting these craft are either American or Russian.
Maybe they're right. Maybe they're wrong. Maybe there's no way to ever know. But if they are right, and an out-of-the-ordinary day is about to unfold, remember the saucers. Cedric Moon, RT, Washington, D.C.
So that's just a small clip letting you know that, yes, they're also activating our nuclear missiles.
Yeah, there definitely been a couple of instances where they took control. I mean, both Russian as well as American arsenals. There was also that incident where a bunch of UFOs came flying from the direction of the Soviet Union back in the 70s, and we went to, I think, DEFCON 2 or something like that. I mean, we went to high alert because we initially thought that they were missiles. And then after, I guess, watching the trajectory for a while and all that, we determined that they weren't, but we never did find out what they were.
Right. They were unknowns, and they were very lucky to shut the systems down. What's phenomenal about our missile systems is that they're meant to not be able to be shut down or even activated without special keys and special orders.
Takes something physical to do it, physical action to launch the missiles. It's not just pushing a button.
Right. So it's like, how do they do it? They penetrate deep into the ground where the missile systems are and somehow neutralize our technology. So that's very advanced, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, if you look at computers and technology and computer programs and all of that, take it from me, at the end of the day, you're just looking at a bunch of binary code. That's all it is. And just arranged in certain ways to make certain things happen. That's what a computer program is. So if someone or an entity like, let's say, an alien, they have, the master of the binary code and all of that, you got to figure that things like lockout codes, numerical lockout codes and things like that are a waste. I mean, because they'll just write now and pick the lock essentially.
Yeah, math is the universal language. So if they're using digits and math and some type of code in that regard, I'm sure they can do anything.
Sure.
Tommy, any last comments on that video clip?
Just that I'll tell you, this all leads up to one thing, and that's a fact that this is not BS. This is real. This is really happening. It's been happening for a very, very, very long time. Like Corbell was saying, this predates history, and it does. I mean, we've got Aztec carvings of things that, well, a guy in a spacesuit. And I mean, if you ever see that photo, and I suggest you go out and look it up, I mean, this guy is in a modern spacesuit. It's a carving on the side of a building or something, basically before history. Now, how did they know that? Let me tell you what they were doing. They painted what they saw, they carved what they saw, and they did that because they saw these things, in my opinion.
Right. I do agree with that. In fact, there's also a suggestion that we've had several civilizations of humankind that were farther advanced than we are at this current time. So what happened to them is unknown, but there is some suggestion of that. Going into our next segment, we're going to be talking about the most popular down under UFO and alien encounter ever. It's the Kelly Cahill alien encounter. So here we go. Let me know if you hear it, Tommy. Hold on a second here. Good.
Be between 6 and 8, I would assume.
Okay. They're fairly intense, or?
Yeah, they're very close together as well.
Right, okay.
4 years ago, Kelly Carr was a mother and housewife with no interest in spaceships or aliens. Now she's using technology to reconstruct images of her own encounter.
It does give the idea of the lights there, but the brightness of the light, it gives a good impression, except that the colour doesn't seem right.
Kelly's account starts in August 1993.
My husband and I were driving up to my girlfriend's place in Monbulk, which is in the Dandenong Mountains. We were driving on Belgrave Hallam Road, and it was just on dusk. I saw what I thought was round orange lights in the field. It looked unusual to me.
Later that night, retracing their route home, Kelly noticed something else unusual.
It's about a kilometre or so in front of us, about twice the height of the treetops. We could see this object, which at first I thought was a blimp. It had the shape of a blimp, but it was light. As we got closer to it, the light seemed to sort of separate, and it was actually these a row of round lights, and they were orange. It appeared like there was silhouettes standing in these round orange circles, like people, but you could only see the black outline. Well, I just said to my husband, look, there's people in there. And the minute I said that, it shot off to the left of us. Within 1 or 2 seconds, it was gone completely. About a kilometre or two further down the road, as we kept driving, I came across at least what I thought was a screen or a wall of light across the road. And my heart started racing and the adrenaline was sort of pumping through my body, and I'm thinking, we've just seen this back down there. We're in for, a close encounter. Then the next instant, nothing. We seem to have actually covered a fair distance that I don't even remember covering. It might have been possibly close to a kilometre, but I don't remember actually travelling. There was no light. There was nothing blocking the road.
Kelly says it wasn't until weeks later she remembered actually getting out of the car that night.
And I saw that there was another car that had pulled up 100 metres down the road. Then I walked around the front of the car to where my husband was standing on the other side, and we started walking across the road together. As we were walking across the road, I looked down and I saw that the other people were getting out the car and starting to walk as well. So I was quite happy that there was other people there who were seeing the same thing that we were. And we walked up along here to where the fence is. Right out in front of us is this huge craft.
I was totally awestruck. It was science fiction coming to life. There wasn't any fear then. It was just all total awe.
We stood here, I guess, side by side, my husband and I, for about 30, 45 seconds. Then this tall, dark being just appeared in front of the craft, and he was followed by about another 7 or 8 that appeared straight behind him.
I felt this energy go through me. It's like nothing I've ever experienced before in my life. It was like some sort of low-level frequency that came in waves, but it was so dense that I could actually physically feel it going through my body. And that feeling absolutely terrified me. It was like, I can't even explain the horror that I felt just feeling this. And I began screaming. The minute I did, the eyes on these things lit up and they came charging across the field.
Halfway across, they split up into 2 groups. Some headed off down there and the rest came directly towards us. I felt this blow to my stomach, and the next thing you know, I'm back here somewhere on the grass. It literally lifted me off of my feet.
And I thought I was going to die. I thought if I don't get up now, I'm going to pass out and I'm going to die. I'm not going to come back to consciousness, So I pulled myself up into a sitting position, and when I sat up, I couldn't see anything. And it was like there was just black in front of my eyes. I want you to try stretching it down a little bit as well.
Kelly is not the only one who saw these images that night. For the first time ever, independent witnesses have given the same account of a close encounter. Even though Kelly has never met Jane, Glenda and Bill from the other car she saw, she has seen the sketches they drew for UFO researchers.
They've drawn the same circles of light around the top of the craft with these blue lines coming down, ending in a semi-circle on the ground. They've actually also drawn a tripod underneath, which was something I didn't see that night. It becomes very clear then that we were all looking at the same thing and that it wasn't your average saucer-shaped craft. And basically, the second party were able to draw sketches of the beings very similar to the ones that I had, and they're not your usual little grey things that are, media propaganda. I found a small red-coloured equilateral triangle underneath my navel, which I guess in reality provoked only a minor curiosity at the time. It was oddly geometric, and I did wonder, you know, how something like that could get on me that looked like a burn without me feeling it.
At UFO conferences, where Kelly is now a keynote speaker, she adds strength to her own story by showing photographs of physical marks left on one of the other women.
We're all left with triangular marks under our navels, but the ones that were marks that were actually photographed, the first one came from Glenda, which is it's a series of 3 small red dots along the inner thigh, and both Jane and Glenda were marked with these dots. I wasn't. Glenda had a ligature mark around her ankle, which is quite severe bruising.
Wow.
Strapped down to something.
UFO researchers have also reported finding physical traces of the site where all witnesses said the encounter happened, particularly in relation to where the craft landed.
Inside that semicircle was actually a triangular formation of 3 points spaced 6 metres apart, which correspond with the tripod that was drawn underneath the girl's craft.
To this day, Kelly still doesn't know exactly what happened to her that night.
Tried a little bit.
Her most vivid memory is the fear that she felt.
That's very good. It's finally come out to what I...
Uh-oh. We may have
It's going to
lost
wake you up or whatever, but it's absolutely horrifying when you're dreaming it. And that's exactly what I was feeling while I was totally awake. That sort of terror, actually having to feel it while you're conscious and physically awake and feel it as a reality, is like a living nightmare, like a nightmare had come to life.
Okay, hold on here.
Love this
So
story.
what do you think of that, Tommy?
Love this story. It's been around for decades, but I love this story, and let me tell you why, folks. It has everything. It has multiple eyewitness accounts. People have actually made sketches of what they saw. We've got physical evidence in the markings on this woman. If you saw her ankle, it looks to me like someone's tied her down. I mean, I don't know what else that could be. Plus, you've got the geometric triangle under the navel or around the navel area. Okay, you've got that going on. And I mean, she's actually able to go back and give us descriptions of what these creatures, these entities actually look like. And again, it isn't just one group of people. It isn't just a husband and wife, a Betty Barney Hill thing. We've got another carload of people that they didn't even know personally that are actually coming off with exactly the same account. I mean, that's just amazing to me. That's a corroborating witness if there is one. Tim, what are your thoughts? Uh-oh. Tim, you with me? Folks, Tim is having some internet issues we kind of been dealing with tonight. We apologize for that, but you know, these things happen, unfortunately. Let's go ahead and go to the chat room, folks. What do you guys think about this story? Do you believe this story? I mean, especially we've got some folks that are from Australia and in the chat. What do you folks, have you ever heard about this one? I don't know if she had any other encounters, anything like that, not to my knowledge. Yeah. And again, we've got so many of these accounts, so many of examples and stories that people are out there telling. These are credible people. We're not talking about, you know, people living under a bridge, you know, huffing paint here, people. We're talking about professional individuals from all over the world, not just the United States, but you got Australia, all over Europe, the Ukraine, and they all have these similar stories. Now, there's no possible way that this could be mass hysteria at this point. I don't see that happening, not in a global sense, certainly. So either these people are just lying to get attention, or this is really happening to them. Now, are that many people truly that attention hungry? I don't think so. I think that these folks are playing it straight and telling it like it is. Tim, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think these people are telling it straight. I mean, the encounter she had was too memorable. She had waking memories. It wasn't like she dreamed it in a dream or she had regression therapy. These were waking memories, and she had trace evidence on her leg, and she found trace evidence on the ground. this was definitely a credible sighting, and that's why it's one of the most popular sightings ever in ufology.
Mm-hmm. It has it all. It has everything that you would need to actually call a sighting and/or / encounter credible. It really does.
Shelley, does anyone know if the woman had children post-abduction? From what I understand, no. She did not. It did not follow through her generational timeline. But I will look further into it, and we'll present it in a future live stream. Tommy, any last comments?
Yeah, my theory on abduction is, like, you've got a couple kinds of abduction. You've got the abductions that happen over and over and over, where we have, fetuses that come up missing and things like that nature. And then you've got this Australian case. And I think that there's a difference. The difference being is that I think the Australian case was possibly more of, let's just say those folks were a target of opportunity, if you will, for lack of a better way of putting it, versus part of some master plan. And that's why this woman has not, to my knowledge, ever come up with any other stories or any other encounters that she's had, anything of that nature. I think this was the one and only one.
Right. It's kind of like if you see something up close for one time only, and then it's gone. Like Tommy said, an opportunistic encounter. And she can't even remember if she was abducted or not, even though she has marks on her leg. She has not been regressed yet. And I've read that she is looking into having the regression done. So we'll have to wait and see what she comes up with. And then if we find out, we will present it on a future live stream.
Definitely update you on this one, folks.
Yes, we'll definitely update you on it. Tommy, any last comments tonight?
I think just that want to thank everybody for coming. Everyone in the chat room, thanks for participating. Thanks for being here for us. We really do appreciate it. Tim's got some great news with the encounter in the desert. That's just huge. We think that'll probably do a lot for the channel, to be honest. At least we're hoping so. That being said, we've got some great interviews coming up. We do have a special on the 1st, which I think we're probably going to go ahead and have that unless Tim has any other ideas. I think we're going to go ahead and have that regardless.
Right. Regardless, whether the report drops or not, we're still going to have a roundtable discussion, and we got some big names coming. So we hope you can join us for that. But I do have to put this up one last time. I have to brag about this because this is a big step for our channel, and I'm going to Contact in the Desert as a participant to represent all of us smaller UFO channels and the people out there that are filming UFOs to testify to the fact that, yes, they are real. We are seeing them. We are experiencing them. We know that we know amongst ourselves that we have disclosure in our own way. So, yes, if you can come to Contact in the Desert, you can see me there. You can also see Terry Lovelace, a gentleman I interviewed a couple of weeks ago about his abduction at Devil's Den. So come on over and check out Contact in the Desert.
I did have one other parting thought, Tim.
Okay.
Folks, if you would, please go out and hit our new website. That's www.ufomannetwork.com. Got lots of stuff over there. We're pumping out new videos over there, things of that nature. If you folks have had some encounters, and I understand that several folks a few folks in the chat room did mention that, we do have a link over there called a report a sighting, and you can either fill out a form and we can get back to you. We also have an 800 number that you can call, leave us a message, and we'll also have someone get back to you, because we keep everything confidential, but we want to hear your story, because you know what? Your story matters, folks. It really does.
And we will also, with your permission, we will post it on the website, but only under anonymous, so that your personal information is protected, and you don't receive any ridicule or anything at your job or in your life.
Yeah,
but we would like to have your reports. Yeah,
we'll do what you're comfortable with. Absolutely.
Exactly. So I want to thank everybody in the chat room and everyone who participated online. And as always, thank you for watching.